keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. I want to talk about players that must step up big if the 49ers are going to be able to compete in 2025. And that's been one of the big talking points right now is how far can the 49ers go? We've seen some of the over-unders be about 10.5 wins. And I think there's a lot of 49er fans that think that 10's realistic. But with the schedule coming up to come out tomorrow, we're going to start to get a really good idea of where the 49ers are going to be playing each one of their games. Now, of course, we know the opponents. We know which games are away, which games are home. But we don't know how it shakes out when the 49ers have away back-to-backs or when they have short weeks. And all those things are going to be figured out. But along the way, the 49ers have to figure out how to continue to get better. And you can't do enough when it comes to roster building in just the draft. With the current roster the way it is, there's going to have to be players that have to step up and help your football team. There's players that you've drafted before, or maybe that you've brought in free agency that are going to have to help out. And I'm going to try to keep the rookies out of this conversation and keep it about other players, because we all know that these rookies have to step up. There's really no choice. Alfred Collins, CJ West, they're going to have to make an impact at defensive tackle. Mikael Williams, he's going to have to be a beast at defensive end. You look at the cornerback position, they're going to need a lot from Upton Stout. There are a lot of players that are coming in as rookies that are going to have to contribute. And so we kind of already know they need to step up big. But there's not enough, even with 11 rookies, for them to be able to do it alone. They need help. And with that being said, there's some players the 49ers have drafted in the past or have signed as free agents that are going to have to step up and make an impact this season if the 49ers want to get where they want to go. And when you look at the schedule for the 49ers and the opponents that they're going to be playing, it's very favorable. The 49ers can win a lot of football games in 2025. And if they win a lot of football games in 2025, they can win the NFC West. They could potentially get a first seed in the playoffs. And I know that's a lofty goal, but it's not something the 49ers haven't done in the past. A really bad season in 2018, all of a sudden in 2019, home field throughout the playoffs. We've seen this happen. This can happen for the 49ers with a favorable schedule, but a lot of things got to go right, and a lot of players got to step up. But if the 49ers could get a favorable schedule to turn into 12, 13 wins, and they could get home field advantage, they never have to leave Santa Clara. The Super Bowl hosted in Santa Clara. And it's not such a crazy thought anymore, right? In 2020, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played the Super Bowl at home. In 2021, the Los Angeles Rams played the Super Bowl at home. And so they even hosted the NFC Championship game in Los Angeles. So this is something that has happened, and it's just happened recently. Within the last 5 years, the 49ers have an opportunity to potentially do something just like that. But what does it take? Which players need to step up? That's what I want to talk about in this episode, because I think there's some key guys. And if you take a look at the thumbnail, I'm pretty sure you're going to know there's a couple of guys right there. You understand what's going to go on. So we're going to go through that. Who needs to step up, why they need to step up, and how they can help this football team. It's going to be a fun one. And if you have other players that I don't talk about, leave them in the comment section, or you agree or disagree with the players that I talk about. Leave it in the comment section down below. I really appreciate it. Now, of course, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating. If that's something you feel you would like to do after listening to the content, I'd really appreciate it. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. So if you are going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season is in full swing, and we're into NBA and NHL playoffs. And BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With a large selection of odds on everything from MLB, NBA, NHL, and UFC, BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the Bet Online Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Bet Online, the game starts here. So there are, of course, some positions that we feel there needs to be upgrades at. And I'm going to kind of mention some of those as we're going through the conversation, but there might not be a real answer. And there's probably a couple I'm going to throw out there like, hey, if this guy stepped up, it could really change the game. So remember that as we're going through the process. I think it's going to be a fun one. But number one on my list of players that need to step up in 2025 is Jair Brown. And I bring up Jair because when we talk about what happened in 2023, his rookie season, we were all so high on the potential of Jair Brown. The way that he played down the stretch, once he came back from injury and he got into the playoffs and he came back and he played so hard, he made an interception in the Super Bowl. He really was better at tackling and angles than we had seen him early in the season. And there was a lot of optimism for what he was going to do in 2024. The problem was it never worked out in 2024. Bad angles, missed tackles. He just wasn't as good as he was the year before. And there could be reason for that. One of the reasons could be that for the most part in 2023, he played with key veterans. He played with guys who had played the position for a long time. And so a lot of times that helps, right? You play with Hufanga or you play with Tashawn Gibson, and they can kind of help you. Where last year, for most of the season, he was the veteran. Even though he was only in his second year, Malik Mustafa was a rookie. And so a lot of the responsibility fell on Jair Brown. Also, I think a contributing factor has to be the change in coordinator, right? Steve Wilks is the coordinator his rookie season. He learns one way to play safety, and it felt like it really worked for Jair Brown. His style fit with Steve Wilks and how he was going to be used. And then when all of a sudden he got to this year with Nick Sorensen, Jair Brown struggled. His usage was a little bit different, and I don't think he ever really acclimated to the defensive style Nick Sorensen wanted him to play. So there is optimism again, and I don't really want to throw out the potential of Jair Brown. I still think he's got a lot of talent. Now, are there some things in his game that he needs to improve? Absolutely. I think he would tell you that. I mean, the film doesn't lie, and these guys know. They're aware of what they need to get better at, the things that they do really well. And so Jair knows that there's some things he's got to get better at. But there could be opportunities as well, because one of the keys to being a good defensive coordinator in the NFL, especially a guy like Robert Saleh will know this, and I think Steve Wilks did as well, is putting your players in the best situations to be successful. One of the ways that you do that is you recognize their strengths and weaknesses. And if you try to put a player in a situation that doesn't enhance strengths, but highlights their weaknesses, they're going to struggle. And I think that happened a lot of times last year for Jair Brown. He was put into some compromising situations that weren't always the best. We don't really need Jair Brown going one-on-one in coverage in the slot with a bigger tight end. That's not always going to work out for Jair Brown. I don't think that's his game. I think there's some elements to his game that he can do that on occasion. He has matchup potential with certain players, but this wasn't one. But early on in this season, it's going to be highly important that Jair Brown step up because Malik Mustafa is likely going to miss the first part of the season, which means one or two things are going to happen. Number one, he's going to play with another veteran. It could be George Odom. I think it's likely to either be Justin Pinnock or it could be Richie Grant, right? It could be one of those guys, or it could be a guy that just got drafted like Marquise Siegel. So you've got the potential to have either Jason Pinnock or Richie Grant or Marquise Siegel potentially starting next to him. So it's either going to be a guy they just added to the roster, a veteran. In Pinnock's case, he played for Robert Saleh last year, or it's going to be a rookie. He could be in the same situation again where he's the veteran and he's got to make decisions and try to put Marcus Siegel in the best situation to be successful, because a lot of times with the safety play, the 49ers kind of allow them to decide who's going to play in the box and who's not. Now, Robert Saleh, I think if he gets his hands on this without having the veterans at the position, I think he's going to take that role away and he's going to make the decision. And I think that's the best way to go. But Jair has to play better than last year. If the 49ers are going to be successful, they need safety play to be good. And I think it's likely that Jair Brown starts next to Pinnock. And I think in that case, that could serve Jair pretty well. But he's going to have to make sure he tackles better, that he plays with better angles, that he's way better in run fits. He's just going to have to be more effective. But also, Robert Saleh can make it easier. He can make it easier on him by putting him in situations that highlight his strengths. And I think Saleh has proven in the past that he's able to do that. He did that with guys like Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt at the position. He did it with guys like Marcel Harris. He highlights strengths and he hides weaknesses, and he puts them in positions that they can be successful. And if you have a safety group that they can't be successful running certain coverages, you don't run it. That's just the way it is. Know your personnel, know what their limitations are. Do not stretch their limitations. And so I think that that's going to be a key element to Jair Brown stepping up. He needs to, and I think he will play better in 2025. And I like the 49ers bringing in competition as well. A young rookie, some key veterans. It's going to be fun to see, but Jair must step up if the 49ers are going to take the next step forward. Next up on the list is Dee Winters. And yeah, we drafted Nick Martin. The 49ers got Nick Martin, and they're very high on Martin, a 4.5, 40-yard dash linebacker who can run sideline to sideline, who absolutely brings the wood when he hits. Dude's got some coverage skills. But really, Nick Martin is the Dee Winters of the 2025 NFL draft. Dee Winters, when he came out a couple years ago, this is what everyone saw in him. Now, of course, he was a 6th-round pick out of TCU. But the instincts, the lightning ability to run sideline to sideline, the guy that can absolutely hit, good in coverage, this is who Dee was. Last year, Dee Winters got his first opportunity to start. He really started at Sam linebacker for most of the season. When he got his opportunity to play Will, he did pretty good in coverage. I mean, that is the area of his game that he's really good. He's a good blitzer, and he's really good in coverage. And so he does fit the Will linebacker role. The question is, can he be better against the run? This is where Dee Winters needs to step up, because a healthy Dee Winters is the first case. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and a healthy Dee Winters gives the 49ers a lot of speed, athleticism, and versatility at linebacker. Now, you don't run 3 linebackers very often. You run 3 linebackers about 25% of the game, the way the NFL is trending right now. Now, some teams are deciding to put in a fullback to go more 2 tight end sets, as we've seen tight ends get drafted heavily, especially in the NFC West. So there are going to be some times the 49ers are put into 3 linebacker sets. With that being said, it's important for Dee Winters to step up and play at a higher level. We need to have him be able to cover, because the 49ers linebackers, Nick Martin or Dee Winters, they need to be able to cover running backs and tight ends out of the backfield. That's going to give you the most versatility when you're running nickel. But they also have to be able to stop the run. And that is where Dee Winters struggled mightily last year. He just wasn't as effective of getting up there and making plays. He was a little slow to pull the trigger, which meant he was a half a tick slow getting to his position. When that happens, an offensive lineman's able to get on you. And that's exactly what happened to Dee Winters a lot. He got bodied a little bit. He also missed a lot of tackles that he should have made. Even his explosive plays, he didn't always finish them. Somebody else finished for him. He'd slow up the runner. He'd get to the quarterback, wouldn't make the play. Somebody else would finish. We need more finish from Dee Winters. And it's imperative, because we need Nick Martin to be able to kind of come through and be able to develop. But also, when you get teams that are going to put you in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field, and you're going to have to go to your nickel package, you're going to have to stay in your 4-3, but you got to have guys that can cover. You can't have them taking advantage of the way Oren Burks was in 2023. Dee Winters and Nick Martin playing together is the best situation for the 49ers, because those 2 athletes running with Fred Warner against 12 personnel, against these bigger tight end sets, these bigger looks, is important for the 49ers. So 21, 12 personnel, they'll see him a little bit in division, especially with Kubiak being with the Seattle Seahawks. Clint Kubiak, they drafted a potential fullback. So this is something you're going to see. More 3 linebacker sets, maybe within division, more 3 linebacker sets because of tight ends as well, with the Rams going out and getting another tight end in the draft as well. So this is a key for the 49ers, is getting Dee Winters to step up, stop the run. That way him and Nick Martin can run sideline to sideline next to Fred and make things a little bit easier for this linebacker group, which hopefully the defensive line is making things easier by eating up blocks and letting these guys run free. Next position, and I have two guys at this position. One of them needs to step up. Ben Bartch or Spencer Burford. And it really doesn't matter which one it is. One of them needs to be a clear, defined starter. Somebody needs to go take this job. And Ben Bartch, looked good in very limited snaps last year. And I think right now he is the presumed starter at left guard. But Spencer Burford is also in this mix. He did start his rookie season at right guard, was a part of a rotation with Daniel Brunskill. I thought he was very effective for the most part. Of course, he did have the really bad blunder in the Super Bowl. John Feliciano was playing so well at the time. And Burford, was filling in for him because Feliciano got injured, and he just absolutely struggled. And I think that kind of put a negative thought process on Spencer Burford from fans, but he's still super talented. Very talented. Got all the athleticism you need to play the position. He's really physical when it comes to run blocking and moving people at the point of attack. His question marks are pass blocking consistently, getting out of position, making those kinds of mistakes and errors when it comes to scheme. And so that's what we're going to have to see. Can Spencer Burford become consistent? It's 2 elite plays and then, some like less than good plays, sometimes bad plays. And so if he can get it to where it's like a great play, a couple really good plays, maybe one that's not great, but you got enough done and you can become more consistent, you don't have these big blunders, he could have an opportunity to take this guard spot. But it's imperative that the 49ers get good play from left guard. And Dominic Pooney has stabilized right guard. His consistent play has also made it easier for Colton McKivitz. Last year's Colton McKivitz was the best Colton McKivitz we've seen in San Francisco. They feel like he's building something there at right tackle. Consistency, playing together with Dominic Pooney, they feel comfortable. Trent Williams is going to be back and healthy. Now, say what you want about Jake Brendel, and we could argue that we will all be cheering for Matt Hennessy to step up this season. This is one of the ones I was alluding to earlier, where I don't have this on the list, and I don't have Jake Brendel on the list because I don't know what Jake Brendel can do to step up even more, right? With the other guys, it's all young guys who are still developing. Jake Brendel is a developed player. What you're getting out of Jake Brendel is what he's going to be consistently doing. There's no rapid improvement. Could he improve a little bit? Of course, everyone can. But I think the 49ers would love for somebody to step up, and can Matt Hennessy, 49er fans would love for somebody to step up. Can Matt Hennessy step up and take that role? Take that starting center job, potentially. So there is a question mark there. I think Jake Brendel's the likely starter, so I'm not going to talk about Matt Hennessy stepping up. Would love it. Would absolutely love Matt Hennessy to step up. Former second-round pick. A lot of potential there. Maybe he gets in the 49ers system, feels comfortable, and his elite play starts playing or showing through. No one would complain about that. That's a possibility. But the left guard one has to be fixed. Last year with Aaron Banks, it was inconsistent. Now, I know Aaron Banks was dealing with a lot of injuries that made it difficult for him when it came to speed. He was getting undercut by linebackers. They were beating him to the spot. They were taking advantage of his lack of lateral quickness because of some of the injuries, shoulder, feet, ankles. It was a real struggle for Banks. You need somebody to step up, though, and solidify that position. We can't have lackluster play coming from one of the offensive linemen. It has to be consistent play. And so the onus is on Ben Bartch and Spencer Burford primarily. And the reason that I'm putting Burford firmly in the mix now is the way the 49ers have addressed offensive tackle in free agency. A lot of people had been saying Spencer Burford was potentially going to play tackle. Kyle Shanahan didn't really put that on the back burner. He kind of alluded to, he's in the mix. But I don't know if he's in the mix now. Because when you look at what they've done with DJ Humphries, bringing in Andre Dillard, bringing in Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, they have added offensive tackles to the position where Spencer Burford can now put his full focus on moving inside and competing with Ben Bartch. Now, he's not the only one competing, but I think that these are the most likely to step up. Nick Zakelj, we don't know. Is he going to be a left guard? Is he going to be a center? What are they going to do with Zakelj? Zakelj, the best pass blocker of the said group, but run blocking is pretty deficient right now. Can he get better at that? I think there's more question marks when it comes to run blocking. And the 49ers need to run the ball consistently. Part of the reason that I'm putting Spencer Burford firmly in the mix, especially with conversations from Chris Furster where he talks about Spencer Burford's the most talented interior offensive lineman they got on the team, more talented than Dominic Puni. That makes you think that they still like him a lot. So one of those two guys need to step up and solidify that job. And I hope somebody just goes and absolutely grabs it and takes it. And I know people are going to talk about Connor Kobe. And I think Connor Kobe is solid. He fits this system. He's going to be a fun one to watch. It's going to be tough for Connor Kobe to jump over the three guys that are ahead of him and have an opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get consistent reps at right guard behind Dominic Puni early on. He played right guard at Iowa, but this gives him an opportunity to learn behind Dominic Puni and allows the battle for left guard to go on. So one of those guys need to step up and make plays if the 49ers are going to be good. If nobody is consistent at left guard, the 49ers are going to have struggles. They need somebody to step up in a big way. Number 4, Yetur Gross-Matos. And you might say, hey, why do we need Yetur to step up so much? Well, part of it because you need a rotation. Mikael Williams and Nick Bosa cannot play the whole time. They brought Gross-Matos here to make an impact when he moves inside and rushes the passer from there. That's something that's going to happen with Mikael Williams as well. So these two guys got to be versatile together, and they've got to make an impact. You let 8.5 sacks go in free agency when you let go of a defensive end that you really liked in Leonard Floyd, but you couldn't afford to keep him. So now Gross-Matos has to step up and stabilize that Bravo group, because there are question marks about that Bravo group, especially at defensive end. Who's the other one even going to be? Is it going to be is it going to be Sam Okawanu? Is it going to be Robert Beal Jr.? Or one of those guys going to step up? I don't think you feel comfortable with Okawanu against the run consistently. I think that's something he struggles with. You don't really have a favorable thought right now of Robert Beal rushing the passer, right? If you could take those two guys and put them together, and you could set the edge like Robert Beal, but you could rush the passer like Sam Okawanu, you would have a really good player. That's what you're hoping you're getting from Gross-Matos, the guy that can set the edge but still rush the passer. So it's going to be very important for Gross-Matos to step up, especially when you go to your NASCAR packages and he comes in to rush alongside Mikael Williams and Nick Bosa. So they need a consistent Yetur Gross-Matos, an injury-free Yetur Gross-Matos, because Bosa can't be out there playing 85-90% of the snaps. They need to keep his snap number down so he has longevity through the season. And when you get the crunch time, he can finish games out. So it's going to be very, very important for Yetur Gross-Matos to step up this year. And that will take some of the pressure off Mikael Williams as well. That way, Mikael Williams can just be Mikael Williams. He doesn't have to be, Superman. And he doesn't have to go out there and make every single play and play every single snap. You can have a steady rotation that allows him to develop, because this is still a player that's not used to playing a 17-game season. And we don't want him to blow up at the end of the year, and just be completely done. Dominic Puni talked about that, hitting that rookie wall in like week 12, week 13. It's a little bit of a different animal. So Yetur Gross-Matos has got to step up his game. That will make it a little bit easier for Mikael Williams, but it really makes it easier for Robert Beal Jr. and Sam Okawanu as well. So that way you can kind of figure out that whole process with them. Number 5, Ricky Pearsall. And Ricky played really good down the stretch last year. I was very impressed. His last 2 games, he was very dynamic. But during this offseason, you lost Deebo Samuel. You traded Deebo Samuel for a 5th-round pick, and so that opened a void. But also, Brandon Ayuk was injured last year. He's going to miss the first part of the season. You go get Demarcus Robinson. He's going to be suspended for the first 3 games, likely. That's not confirmed, but that's likely. So you've got a situation where you've got Juwan Jennings, and you've got Ricky Pearsall. And so Pearsall's going to have to go out there and make plays for this 49ers offense. Last year, there were moments he was expected to be that guy, but he's going to be expected to be that guy from the get-go. Him and Juwan Jennings are going to be expected to make plays. So Ricky Pearsall stepping into a bigger role. He's stepping into an environment in which he needs to produce for this football team. He's got the route running ability. You watch him last year. The hands are there. He's just got the savvy to be able to sit down in zones. But he's got to step up if the 49ers are going to be successful. This wide receiver room, as currently constituted, we'll see. Maybe they'll sign a Gabe Davis. He went and met with the New York Giants today. So that one's not a done deal. You've got some question marks, especially until you get to like week 3. I think once Demarcus Robinson comes back after the 3 weeks, you get to week 4 and he steps in. Potentially you have him playing X with Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. That will be a pretty solid 3-man wide receiver room. But I think that, until Brandon Ayuk comes back, when is Ricky going to get in his unique role, the role that he's going to play so well? But he's got to step up. He's got to make big plays in this offense. This offense needs wide receivers to play. We know Juwan Jennings is going to make plays. But if Ricky Pearsall steps up and elevates his game even further than he did last year, that's going to take pressure off Juwan Jennings. They won't be able to just bracket cover Juwan. They won't be able to put all their focus on Juwan and George Kittle. They will have to pay attention to Ricky Pearsall, or he's going to have big games like he did last year. So Ricky Pearsall, a guy that needs to step up. Jacob Cowing as well. And with the lack of depth at wide receiver right now, and there's a lot of guys that we like, right? We like Isaiah Hodgins. We think that one's going to be fun. Jordan Watkins, the new draft pick, he's going to be fun. He's got a lot of speed. You got Isaiah Nayer, the undrafted free agent, that's 6'4", 220 out of Nebraska. I think he's a fun prospect. Matt Mayoko talking about Tariq Owens. There is possibilities and potential. But Jacob Cowing has also got his back against the wall when it comes to returning. Junior Bergen was brought in from Montana State, and you've got a situation where this guy could be the return guy. So if Jacob Cowing loses that job, he has to be solidified as a wide receiver. So Cowing has still got all the speed, all the athleticism. We know he's not going to be a great blocker. That's not what's expected. But can you get your body in the way? Can you get enough of somebody to be able to present a barricade to allow your running back to get by? That's one of the keys. But for the most part, line up in the right spot, run the right route, and use your dynamic athletic ability, and you'll be okay. And so Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing are going to be asked a lot of this season. And if they can step up, especially early, this 49er team is going to have an opportunity to win games. If neither one of them do, it's going to be very difficult for the 49ers to win games consistently. Juwan Jennings can't do it on his own. And what expectations do we have on Jordan Watkins? They've already told him it's going to be difficult for him to be able to make an impact in his rookie season. What kind of, what do we think about, Isaiah Nayer? Is he going to be able to step in and leapfrog these guys? We would love it, right? You would love for someone to come out of left field and just make big plays for your football team. But that's a lot to ask of an undrafted free agent. So Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall have been in this system. They understand the system. They need to be the ones to step up. Jacob Cowing, not just in offense, but on special teams as well. So he was number 6. Number 7 is a new addition to the team, Luke Farrell. And you might ask why? Well, because the 49ers desperately need a solid blocking tight end in this offense. 12 personnel last year should have been a lot more effective the way it was the year before with Charlie Warner, but it was not. Eric Saubert struggled to be able to fill the role. He just wasn't blocking consistently, and this offense paid the price. So they go out and they spend money and they get Luke Farrell, but it's important that he steps up and fills the role that they lost with Charlie Warner. They need that blocking tight end element within this 49ers system. So it is imperative that he steps up and he makes plays when it comes to blocking. I don't expect him to make very many catches. I don't expect him to get yards after the catch or score touchdowns. That's not why you signed him. If he gets those, it's a bonus. But we need this offense to go back to being efficient and effective in 12 personnel when you have 2 tight ends on the field. We need somebody that can block effectively, that can allow you to send George Kittle out for a pass, or can help you set the edge when it comes to running in the outside zone. So Luke Farrell is going to be very important for the San Francisco 49ers about how this offense is going to work. This tight end position, this second tight end, is a linchpin position for the San Francisco 49ers. So Luke Farrell, one of those guys that needs to step up for this 49ers offense. And the last guy I'm going to talk about that needs to step up, and, I talked about a little bit about Alfred Collins and CJ West and, what they're going to help with the linebackers. But there's a guy that needs to step up to make this transition easier. The same way that I'm expecting and needing Yetur Gross-Matos to step up, this team is, the same thing goes for Jordan Elliott. And whatever you want to say about Jordan Elliott, his play last year was inconsistent. He needs to step up and play better, because the best situation for the 49ers is for there to be, at worst, him as a solid rotational piece with Kevin Givens. At best, he allows CJ West or Alfred Collins, whoever doesn't win a starting job, and I think Alfred Collins is going to win the starting job straight out of the gate, to develop. And CJ West could be a part of that second man rotation. I think that's the best situation for the 49ers. I think if West has to start and he's out playing Jordan Elliott, that's okay. But Jordan Elliott needs to then step up and be a better Bravo player the way that Yetur Gross-Matos is. We have to have that second wave of defensive linemen. This defense can't get bad as far as stopping the run when all of a sudden your two starters come out. Like, let's say it's CJ West and Alfred Collins. When those guys leave the field, you can't have Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens or Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson not being able to consistently stop the run. So Elliott is going to be a key factor in this, because I think Kevin Givens, we know he doesn't stop the run well. Evan Anderson, we know he doesn't rush the passer well. So with those guys, there's question marks. With Jordan Elliott, he has shown when his time in Cleveland, he could stop the run effectively. And then he has shown that he could rush the passer a little bit too. So this is an interesting dynamic and an interesting player. And I think if he steps up, he will stabilize the interior part of this defensive line, potentially behind Alfred Collins and CJ West. And then that will be when you really get a rotation. And if you got Gross-Matos stepping up and you get Jordan Elliott stepping up, key veterans, that will make things easier when you need to get those starters off the field, because it is going to be tough. Those rookies are going to play a lot of snaps in year one, and it's going to be hard for them to make it through the whole season. If you're talking about a playoff run, if you're talking about a potential deep playoff run or Super Bowl run, you're going to have key contributors when it comes to depth pieces stepping up and making plays. So these are the guys I think that need to step up. I'm sure there's a lot more. Let me know, what you thought about the list. Jair Brown, Dee Winters, Ben Bart / Spencer Burford, whoever plays that left guard spot, Gross-Matos, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, Luke Farrell, and Jordan Elliott. All guys that we need to step up for the 49ers in 2025 if the 49ers are going to make the push for the NFC West, a push in the playoffs, and a potential run at something after that. Who knows? Who knows? Crazier things have happened, right? It was 1981 that the 49ers focused a lot on secondary. And next thing you know, they're beating the Dallas Cowboys and their upstarts going to the Super Bowl to play the Cincinnati Bengals. So 49ers put a lot of focus on defense. I don't know if the parallel rings true during the season, but it doesn't ring true if these players don't step up. So please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Listening audio platform 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. Please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.